Okay, this video is to go over the egg drop lab that you're going to do in a few days, and it goes along with our next unit, Unit 6 on momentum. Now, the objective is you're an engineer, you design and build a cost-effective egg drop apparatus prototype using whatever materials your group brings in. The apparatus should be designed to prevent damage to the egg when dropped from the second floor landing to the first floor. Use your knowledge of impulse, momentum, and forces to help you design an effective apparatus. This lab is worth 50 points. Okay, so you're going to have to bring in materials. You can do this in groups of 2 or 3. Each one of you need to get, after you watch this video, need to get in your groups and to decide what you're going to bring in. So basically, you want to build something that will hold an egg and that you can drop it once we go to the middle stair well and drop them from the second floor, and you want to keep that egg from breaking. Now, some ideas are a lot better than others. You know, we want to think in terms of impulse and momentum instead of just stuffing a bunch of stuff in a container to try to soften it when it hits. Yeah, that might work, but it's not really the best way to try to change the momentum of that egg so it won't break. Think about it kind of like this. You're trying to land a probe on Mars, and you have a lot of expensive machinery that doesn't need to break. How would you land it on there to keep that stuff from breaking? Would you just stuff a bunch of padding around it and everything? Would that be the best way? So you want to maybe do some research. You can use the internet to research ideas, to build. But basically, you're going to be given. I should have some cups in my cabinet somewhere, and each group will get a cup. That's what's going to hold your egg, and then you're going to build something, some kind of apparatus. So I have some examples on my shelves. If you'll look, and you can see a few things you can go by. I should have 2 or 3 from the past years that I kept. But basically, you want to think about it. You want to think about it in terms of this equation. Now, momentum, we define that in an equation as P equals M times V. So momentum is P. M is mass in kilograms. And V is velocity. So what we want to do is make this number here, our momentum, to be as low as possible. The less momentum, the less damage is going to be done to that egg. Well, so the mass, if you have something real heavy, it's going to fall faster. So that's one thing you could change. But what I would look at is right here, velocity. How can I change the velocity of that? Now I'm going to give you a few ideas, and you can do what you want. Some people, every year, students will ask me, "Can I bring some peanut butter and put it in that?" Well, yeah, that would probably work, but is that the best way to make it hit as lightly as possible? All right, so you want to think about velocity. How can you change the velocity of it? And one idea, how can you slow down the velocity? Well, that's one idea right there. Something to slow it down, a parachute. I've also had students before. One of the neatest ones I ever saw was they put balloons underneath it, and when they dropped it, it slightly hit the floor and bounced back up, and it hit real light. So you want to put your egg in the. You don't have to put the eggs in there to the day before you drop them. Put it in your cups, and if you use any kind of padding or anything, and then you build your other apparatus and come up with something. But you'll have to bring the materials in. You should be watching this video on Monday. You have a test tomorrow on Unit 5, and then we will do this lab on Wednesday and Thursday. You'll have Wednesday to build it, and then a little bit of class time on Thursday, and then you'll go drop them and test them out, and make sure you clean up your mess and throw everything away after you're finished with this. But another equation that we deal with momentum is something called impulse, and it's this equation: it's force multiplied by time is equal to mass times velocity. All right, now, so if you think about it, force you want to lower, you want this number here to be low. So this time interval, if you think about it, you want to slow it down somehow. The time. Also, think about impact. What slows down your momentum if you have an airbag in your car? It protects your face and head by slowing down and lessening the force, because once your face hits the padding, it sinks in, it increases the time interval, and there's less force. It's kind of like when you jump. If you jump in there and you come down and your knees are slightly bent, or you kind of, as you hit the ground, kind of bend your knees, it increases the time interval and lowers the force at which you would hit the ground. So you want to keep in mind these two equations while you're doing this. But the key, it really is to, if you can lower this, then it will make the time interval increase, and it will, lower the force also. And you're going to draw a neat diagram of the apparatus you built in the box below using straight edges where appropriate, and list your materials that you used. And drop the apparatus and measure how long it takes to land in seconds. And then you're going to answer these questions of your observations. And then once you're finished with this, each person in the group will need to turn one of these in, and then you'll be graded on it. Now, if you're quarantined, or you forget to bring your materials in, you will need to write let's say a 2-page paper on Isaac Newton. So if something happens, you forget to bring materials in, or you're at home sick or quarantined, this is the alternate assignment. You'll need to turn that in class, or send it to me in a Schoology message.